I'm Vance Bastian here with my co-host S.A. Baz Collins for this week's Written on the Edge Season 8, Episode 27. In this week's episode, we'll be discussing Felice Cohen's memoir, Half In, coming-of-age memoir of forbidden love. Then we'll move on to this week's review of Matteo Lane's latest special, Hair, Plugs and Heartache, and share what's got our attention this week. First, let's welcome our guest. Known nationally and internationally as the woman who lived in one of the world's smallest apartments, Felice Cohen is the award-winning author of the best-selling books Half In, a coming-of-age memoir of forbidden love, which we're discussing today, 90 Lessons for Living Large in 90 Square Feet or More, inspired by the YouTube video of her tiny New York City studio apartment, and What Papa Told Me, about her grandfather's life before, during, and after the Holocaust. Felice also writes The Fancy Tales, a modern-day take on the versions of classic fairy tales we grew up with. These tales take place in New York City, with the magic happening in Central Park, and contain a wholesomely presented and slightly sophisticated LGBTQ plus twist. Felice splits her time between New York City and Cape Cod. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. All right, so with all that creativity in your background, where did the spark come to actually write it down?
Well, my first book was What Papa Told Me, and I wrote that just because my grandfather asked me to. I
Oh,
was writing in college. I never really liked writing, but I had a teacher who showed me that creative writing could be fun. And in college, I started writing opinion columns. And my grandfather said, I want you to tell my story. And so I started working on his story. And then from there, I, started writing these other books.
that's awesome. All right, so let's talk about Half In, a coming of age memoir of forbidden love. That title alone tells a story.
Yeah. When I was 23, I had an affair with my boss. She was a woman. She was 57 years old. She had a long-term partner. And it was in the early 90s when it was don't ask, don't tell. Today it's love is love. And so
Right.
we kept it a secret because it was a fair, right? Because she was my boss. And also because of this age difference, I had a lot of shame in that because I thought she was so old at 57, and you're 23. That seems old. And the closer I get to that number, it doesn't seem so old. But it took me a long time to get over it. And kept that secret for decades. Some people knew that we had this affair. Nobody knew all the details.
Hmm.
And it took me 29 years until the book came out to finally tell it. Sarah had died 20 years ago.
Okay.
So to mourn her, I wrote because I couldn't really, I mourned her as I loved her in secret. And I started writing, not to think it was going to be a book, just to kind of get over it. And then when I saw these patterns in my relationships repeating, keeping things secret, not really being able to be all in, I
Hmm.
realized I had to come clean with my story.
Were you worried about anyone in her life reading it and being shocked and scandalized?
The feedback has been great from everyone. The people who've had the most, a little more pushback have been her friends.
Okay.
I don't have any ties to her family now. I think she had a brother who's probably passed and some nephews. But her ex, the one that cheated on with me, is still alive. And I know I've heard through other people, they asked if she's read it, and I said, I have no idea. I mean, I have
Mm.
no relation to them. But some of the
Right.
friends were a little upset, Sarah's friends, because they didn't know about the affair. And, I said, well, that was because it was an affair.
Mm.
So it was secretive. But, they wish Sarah had told them. But, one of the people who endorsed my book and we become friends is the iconic, legendary Rita Mae Brown. And she explained to me that when people read your book, they're reading their story. So
Yeah.
it's they're bringing their experience to the table. And, I had to tell the story. I wasn't going to curb it.
Right. Now, I know
Yeah.
everybody goes on their own journey in life, but are there lessons you want people to learn from this memoir?
Be as truthful as you can. I think, living with shame and guilt and secretiveness is just kept me so sick, and it kept me from being happy. And, this book has been out now a number of months, and I can't believe all the friends I've made and the feedback I've gotten, and people who I don't even know emailing me and telling me their similar stories or thanking me for writing it.
Hmm.
And that's all you hope for as an
Right.
author,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
So can we, in the interest of helping people through relationships, can we talk a bit more about how the age difference, the secrecy of that relationship actually affected lives?
Affected others' lives or my life
Well,
or
both,
any life?
because through you and the
Okay.
way you interacted with everybody else in your world, it sort of has a trickle down effect, doesn't it?
Yeah. With older women, love it because they are they're given a voice, and they see, and I never had seen our story reflected in any books I read. And
Hmm.
now it's a big trope. It's a huge genre, these age gap books. People love them, and they're all fiction. I hadn't read any other nonfiction, and I realized there's something there. And now younger women are telling me they like it, and older women have told me that they've always been with older women, and now they got to a certain age, now they're with younger women. I never thought of it as looking for an older woman to
Hmm.
date. It was always just, it was just Sarah in that one instance. I've dated men, I've dated women, some have been older. But I think just by showing that it can be normalized and it can be beautiful and great, that people feel more comfortable with it. I was on a date a year or so ago with a younger woman, and it was just more like friendly. And she said, "Well, I really like older women." And I thought, I'm not an older woman, but just because I didn't want to be in that category yet. But it was just funny. But I'm glad that people can express themselves. And today, so many kids, younger people, are being able to express themselves and who they love without feeling shame or guilt.
Right.
And it's amazing. And
Yeah.
it's so many friends.
Just look at Sarah
Oh,
Paulson, and her relationship, I mean, it's like, go girl.
Hmm.
Get that
Yeah.
love. Go ahead.
But yeah,
right.
to your point of seeing ourselves in our books, I've seen a lot of fiction with the age gap, but I think yours is the first nonfiction I've at least encountered in 8 years of doing interviews.
Yeah, I never saw it. I mean, I love that movie Carol, because for the first time it showed that gap. It wasn't a huge age gap, but it showed also a happy ending, which
Hmm.
you don't see that often.
Right.
So
Right.
that was nice.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about the content of the memoir? And then we'll talk about some of the awards that you've won and are up for.
Sure. So, while the book is about this age gap secret affair, it's also about figuring out your sexuality
Hmm.
and figuring out where you belong in the real world. I was 23, you're out of college, you don't know where you belong, what you're supposed to do, trying to figure that all out. And that was a big part of the book. And that's gotten a lot of attention as well, which I'm glad for, because it is a tough time. For the first time, you're not a student, you don't know where you belong. And especially today, we have so many more choices. And it's helpful to know that, everybody says, well, what's my purpose? And I realized after all these years that your purpose is just day to day, getting through that day and enjoying the journey.
Hmm. Very, very cool. All right,
Yeah.
so let's see. You've won the 2022 Independent Author Network Book of the Year for Outstanding LGBT Fiction. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
you're a finalist for the Golden Crown Literary Society's nonfiction.
Yeah. Find out in 2 weeks.
Fingers crossed for you.
Yeah. I'm up against a good friend. So
And
Crossing everything.
thank
and
you.
so endorsed by Rita Mae Brown. Do you know her personally, or was that out of the blue?
You know what, during the pandemic, I took a huge swing, and I contacted her and asked her if I could use her poems in my book,
Oh,
because
beautiful.
Sarah had introduced me to so much. And part of that was her poems. And she called me back crazy. I was stunned, and said yes. So, I'm an athlete. So I went up to bat a few months later, took another big swing, and said, will you endorse my book? And she said yes.
Beautiful.
So a couple months later, I said, I'm 2 for 2. I contacted her and asked if she would do a talk with me in New York City. Like, she lives in Virginia. What was I even thinking, asking? And she said yes. So I went down a couple weeks before and spent a day with her.
Mm.
And we just became friends. She is the most amazing, generous, incredible human being. And aside from being an icon and an incredible writer, she's just the nicest person. And I'm like so lucky to be able to have her in my corner. It was affirming for writing this book as well.
I love that. And it goes back to your original point of liking it when fans reach out to you, because that's exactly what you did for her.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Beautiful.
just worked out. I mean, she also had a book coming out at the same time. It was perfect timing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it was helping each other. It was nice.
I love that. All right. Anything else on the topic of your memoir?
Just please read it, enjoy it. If people have comments, I'm always open to hearing them. People want to share their stories if they read it. People, like when I wrote my grandfather's book about the Holocaust, I got so many people writing me about their experiences, survivors or children or grandchildren. And books are a great conduit to start these conversations.
Yep. And something I've been saying all Pride Month is if you listeners and readers can afford a second copy, donate it to your local library. They will add it to their shelves. It's a beautiful way to promote works about us.
And
Please
it's
do it.
important right now
It's
because they're
very
getting
important right
banned.
now.
Yeah. It's amazing because it feels like my first Pride, because for the first time, I really feel like I'm out and just talking about this. And I was at the DC Festival down in Washington on Sunday, and there were like 200,000 people. And it was just incredible. Allies, everyone, just
Yep.
walls of people. And it just felt really good.
Well, welcome to the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You'll be
So,
getting your toaster oven soon.
well, that's an old joke.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm an old cat, so there you go.
I know we didn't schedule talk about this, but can I ask about the fancy tales? Because that sounds fun.
Yeah. Rita Mae Brown loved him this. So I love that. So I had this idea, my grandmother, who I was named after, her name was Fella. And one day I just had this idea for something popped in my head, like she's a fella, like she's a fella. And so it sounded like Cinderella. So I
Right?
just rewrote that story. So, they're lesbians and it's a Doc Martin instead of a glass slipper. And I'm a volunteer in Central Park, and I love Central Park. And it always felt magical to me. So, there's a Don't Call Me Fairy Godmother, and they're all the parts of Central Park. And there are so many statues and landmarks in Central Park that I've made come alive with these stories. There's
Oh,
Peter
nice.
Pansy and Jack and the Beanstalk and Beauty and Butch. And they're really funny and they're a little campy, but, there's a lot of them. So
Where do people go to read these?
they're they're on Amazon. The books are on
Okay.
Amazon, but I am redoing some and putting them all in one book because
Nice.
I think that's more fun. And they're illustrated. I have a friend who's an incredible artist, so they've been fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you teased us with the fairy tale collection coming up. What else are you working on?
So I am working on I'm calling it a reverse memoir. I'm a minimalist. I lived in 90 square feet, right? And I don't
Yes.
save much. But one thing I did save, and I went through these during the pandemic when I went home to stay with my folks, are letters. I have every single letter I've ever been sent from family, from friends, from ex-lovers. I have over 1,000 letters.
Wow.
And I put them all together. I separated them family, and then within that, mom and cousin and sister and friends and exes. And it has become this incredible experiment of letters. And I really thought that it was going to be about me, but it's not. I thought it would kind of be about me and not hear from me. But I'm just the common denominator of all of these people's stories of sharing. And some people have sent me up to 50 letters, and you're reading a little mini novel about that person who's bared their souls, because people don't write letters that much anymore. And
No.
it's amazing what they've shared, and seeing people from high school, what they're talking about, and boys, and eating too much and body image, and it's been incredible. you know, I said to my sister, you wrote me like 40 letters. You really liked me, you know, because you didn't fight all the time. It's been really great. I'm hoping to get it done, you know, by the end of this year.
Nice. Yeah, something Neil Gaiman said like 10 years ago sparked a research project actually, where he'd said that he prefers to write his first draft with a pencil and a piece of paper because it helps him feel creative. And
Mm.
so a university, and I apologize, I forget which one, actually did some tests with that, and they found that the creative centers of your brain spark with pencil and paper, where they don't with a keyboard.
I love that. I totally agree. You know, I teach a memoir workshop,
Oh, neat.
and part of that is the part of getting the pain out or the heartache,
Hmm.
literally writing it down.
Yep.
You know,
There's
I
there's
love
power
that.
to that. I like
There,
it.
yeah.
So you're on the tour for Half In. Do you have any dates, times, any festival places you want to share with people?
Sure. I mean, you can always go to my website, felicecohen.com. They're all listed, but I'm going to be in Denver in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Actually, next Thursday, I'm going to be on a stoop in Brooklyn, the 22nd, doing an interview, a live interview with people there.
Oh, cool.
I'll be, yeah, on July 11th, I'll be in Boston, July 12th on Wellfleet on Cape Cod. Some more dates on the Cape. Yeah, I mean, they're all on my website. Yeah, I'm trying to give myself a little break in August, but it's not looking like that right now.
Good luck.
Well, that's a
Fun.
sign of success, so congratulations.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
All
it.
right. So you did share felicecohen.com. Is there a social media where you're active where people can reach out to you?
Sure. You know, all the links are from the website. You know, there's
Mhm.
Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. They're all there.
And we will include those with this episode for folks as well.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Any final words of wisdom?
Just do what you love to do, whatever that is. Whether it's writing or skipping, just be happy. You know, my grandfather, he died at 94, and after surviving all those 5 years and 8 different camps, he always just said, enjoy your life. And I think that's really the most important thing you can do, however you do that.
Beautiful.
That part right there.
All right, folks, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to Felice Cohen for joining us. Felice, thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been fun.
Yes, it has. All right.
And come back when you have the other work done. We
Yeah,
definitely want
please
to hear
do.
about it.
We want to hear about the fairy tales.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
All right, folks, if you like hearing about new artists, like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. But now, on to our review.
No, I like accents. He seems like a hardworking guy, but I do. I like accents. You know, my ex-boyfriend had an accent. He had a Spanish accent. He's from Spain. Actually, he's from Venezuela. Then he escaped, so now he's in Spain. And we're still friends. But here, the thing is, like, I realize when you date someone who has an accent, there's certain things you can't do. So you cannot role play. You can't. I mean, you can, but anything I wanted him to be, he had to be the Spanish version of that thing. We tried once. I was like, all right, you can be a cop. And then midnight rolls around. He's like, you are under arrest. Just stick it in. No, but it's...
It's time to review. No?
5s across the board.
Wow, that was fast. We've got another comedy special for you, and the reason we brought it is one, the world could use a bit of joy. Two, it's Matteo Lane, and we love, love, love him. But three, comedians who are talking about gay experiences are finally mainstreaming.
Yes.
And that is beautiful.
Yes.
Matteo Lane's Hair Plugs and Heartache. It's on YouTube.
Bitch is
Watch
laying
it.
it all out.
He is. And he's beautifully, through comedy, normalizing experiences everybody kind of has through a gay lens. I
Mhm.
mean, he talks about
And
hair
making
plugs,
them
he talks about
accessible
online
for
video
everyone.
gaming. Oh my God. Thoughts?
I love it because he makes it the gay experience accessible to everyone. You know, it's heartfelt kinds of things, but he does it through that queer lens, but doesn't lose, at least from my perspective, doesn't seem to lose a straight audience.
Mhm.
He makes queerness a thing that straight people can attach to and go, oh, I get it, you know, kind of thing. The other thing I love about it is that he also is very good with his fluidity with language. And so he brings international flair to everything he does, reminding us gently, without just beating us over the head, that there are more than just Americans involved in this world. And I love that about him, is that he is very international. And can I just say, his impersonation of his friend is
Sounds like Paul
so
Land.
yeah, is so fucking spot on. I mean, if you go back to the first special and listen to him, or any of the little videos, because Matteo does these cooking videos, and he does it, and his friend is on there. I think his friend's Nick. Is that what his name? Nick Smith?
Nick.
Yeah. And he is this beanpole tall of a guy. And in fact, it's funny. I saw one where they both go pole dance, learn how to do pole dancing with this gay pole dancer. And Nick's first comment is, they said, "Have you ever done pole dancing?" He goes, "No, but I've often been mistaken for a pole." You know, I mean, but it's funny because Matteo captures him beautifully, and it's one of those situations where you realize that that's what best of friends do with each other. They can quickly synthesize and give you a slice of someone very important in their lives to such a degree of perfect impersonation, because they've seen it and been around it so much, it's just eked into their pores, and they know how to put it back out again, you know. And that's, I think, also one of the wonderful things Matteo does.
Yep, agreed. Everyone should watch this.
Well, what do you think? What was your thoughts?
Oh, I kind of said that at the beginning. He normalizes being gay with things that straight people have to go through too. Hair plugs, Fortnite with other people, heartbreak, heartache. I mean, it's all there and it's all normal. Thank you. We are people too.
Yeah, right. I love the whole gaming thing in the closet.
That was freaking hilarious. And it's even funnier because I've seen people play that game. I freely admit it's not one that I play, but I know exactly what he was talking about.
And the thing is, you know, Nick is out there looking around.
I could live here. No, you can't.
It's just, you know, that, and I think it's like going back to even Wanda Sykes. The whole thing is that it's their personal relationships that bear out the humor, you know, and I think the thing is, for queer people, it's a little bit queer people. Well, you know, even Margaret Cho. This is another example. Queer people are constantly dealing with drama of some sort, often beyond their own controlling experiences, because society still is in this big flux of, do they accept us or don't they? And especially now, we've got a cycle again where we're in the Anita Bryant bullshit. And I think that we have that kind of atmosphere again. So it's more important than ever that we become louder and prouder again. And I think what Matteo does very well is he makes it a global thing by using his ability to throw in languages and cultures, and actually, you know, because he lives in New York, it has that very international flavor already. So it makes it very easy for him to bring the world in on any situation that but again, they're situations that we all live through to some extent. And it's just funny to see someone take that human element of relationships, our relationships, and no matter whether they're gay or straight, there is a commonality that is the human thread. I just want to add, there's one little thing that I really do love. I love that we finally got the actual response from his gay brother.
Yep. Not going to spoil it, but yes.
Yeah, not going to spoil it. Must watch to the end to get it. But it's a joke he's run before, but he tells the real story this time around. I think it would be funny if he did one of these specials and his gay brother was there. I would love to see the two of them. That would probably be hysterical.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah, so that I'm hoping that happens at some point in time, but
so I know you dropped your numbers before we even announced what we were reviewing. Mine for all the applicable categories, because again, stage dressing didn't matter. It was a comedy club.
Yeah, it was the same place.
Yep.
As the first one.
Yep. So for the numbers that mattered, it was 5s across the board, 100%. A big shoot.
And the ones that weren't?
Score and win. I'm sorry?
And the ones that weren't?
Didn't apply. NA. Non-applicable. Like I said,
you're going to make me create an NA.
You can put 5s down. It's fine. Comedy clubs are beautiful in their own way.
Oh, okay. Everything is beautiful. Oh, cute now. Anyways, we don't need Ray Stevens on this.
Nope. And because it's YouTube, you don't even have to subscribe to a channel. You can just go watch it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Google it.
So
it's a frightening music video if you ever want to go watch it.
I don't.
It's very, do you remember back in, well, I don't know, it was probably before you were really watching TV, but back in the mid to late 70s, they had a Coke commercial where they actually used the song Everything is Beautiful.
Oh.
And it's very 70s. There's like, a throwback to Flower Children, and it's just very groovy. Really groovy.
I do remember that commercial.
Yeah.
I am older than you think. So, fun story I shouldn't tell. We were recently at brunch with some family members, and though I am the oldest child in my family, I was mistaken for the youngest.
Love that. Love that. All right, people. So definitely go check it out. It's on YouTube. Get the man his coin. Watch it. Let the ads play. Let him get his coin, because it's great that he's putting these up on YouTube and not waiting to negotiate something with a streamer. Although I'd have to say, it's probably smarter for him to do it this way, because streaming services, the latest thing I found out about them, and we'll talk, I may bring it up in What Are We On About, because it's something I discovered. There's a great video, and I'll put it down in the notes, that put out why this whole writer strike and the streaming thing has become such an issue. These streamers have gotten to the point, and these are all those streaming platforms, have gotten to the point where they want ownership of copyright property, even though it is developed by a creative team on their own, and the streamers are just putting up the money for it, but they want complete ownership of it. So therefore, if you put up a comedy special like Kathleen Madigan or what, they don't own the whole rights to the creative work. Wrong. I mean, a percent, yes, I can see that. But they wouldn't have people streaming if they didn't have the artistic content. This is where that whole thing plays. So it's probably a really smart move on Matteo's part to do it this way, because the only person he has to split it with is Google. And he still retains the ownership of the material. It's a real smart way to do it. I kind of, especially if you have a decent following, do that, because it'll only get more and more views as time goes on. So, more power to him. Get your coin, boy.
All right. Well, we should transition into What You're On About, because that was a lead-in.
Yep. What are we on about? What are you on about?
Let's see. Mine didn't have anything to do with streaming rights. We recently gave some friends a tour of Madison, and one of the places we stopped at was a Madison Historical Society. Not that anybody sitting in my chair has any tie there. But we happened to walk past Agnes Moorehead's dress from Bewitched, which
Ooh,
sparked my husband's, because she was from this area,
yeah.
or went to school here. But it sparked my husband's interest in rewatching Bewitched from episode 1 because he wanted to specifically watch her character, and we knew going into it was going to be cringy. And man, the patriarchy is strong with that show. Be very, very aware of that. However, Agnes Moorehead's character, Endora, breaks through that every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason she's considered an icon. Very fun. But then in my house all weekend there was a lot of it's one of the few times you'll see me use hand motions in this show.
I just
Yep.
that whole thing.
And one of the friends who was staying with us at one point was telling us a story and we're like, no, that didn't happen. Witch's honor.
My stars.
Oh, I say that one all the time. Or
Yeah.
my favorite, and I've used this for years. Somebody will ask me why I did something that ended up working out, but why I didn't. I'm just like, well. But then there's
Yeah, the
everybody's
gays
favorite.
love the gays do love their Bewitched.
Yep. But then there's everybody's favorite, the nose twitch.
Yeah. Oh, you do it very well.
Thanks. I wanted to be a witch when I was a child watching that show. So
I think every gay boy, it's like there's Wonder Woman and Elizabeth Stevens.
and I watched both of them. I'm very proud to say I
Samantha
have
Stevens.
that credit.
I'm sorry. I combined Elizabeth
Samantha.
Montgomery and Samantha Stevens. Sam.
Yep. But yes, I am proud to say I have that box checked off on my gay bingo card.
Bravo.
How about you?
I've got a small list. Oh, didn't you have a video you wanted to share, or is that your win?
That's my win.
Okay, we have something coming up that Vance wants to share. Vance brought show and tell. Okay, so gonna run through them quickly because it's quite a few of them. Nicholas Hamilton, who played the bully on chapter 2 of It, the one who did the carving, he's actually gay in real life. I didn't know that. And he's also evidently quite the singer. He is now recording his stuff. I'll put it down in the notes. But he said people find it really amazing when they meet him and realize just how far away he is from that character that he played in that horror movie. Which, file this under, that's why it's called acting. Bit of sad news, the lesbian couple is heartbroken by their they have a rainbow doormat in Bristol, and this somebody, they don't know who, keeps vandalizing it. One time it was stolen, so the one of the partners glued down the second rainbow mat, and they came and spray painted it black. And so they thought, and they'd only moved into the neighborhood 2 months before. And they thought, oh, geez, we've moved into a really horrible neighborhood. What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And by chance, they happened to talk to some of their neighbors, and their neighbors were shocked and outraged. So they all started buying rainbow mats, which just goes to show that sometimes lemonade can be a wonderful, refreshing moment. So good on them. The guy who wrote the Don't Say Gay bill is trying to seek a sentence delay, and he faces up to 35 years for COVID-19 funds fraud. Couldn't happen to a better person. And I'm going to file this under, when someone comes for our community, I think our response should be, what are you up to?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need us as a smokescreen? What's going on there?
I've often said that was a smokescreen topic or trait. Yes, yeah. 100%. They're hiding something because they want to get you outraged over this other thing.
And on that note, since we're talking a little bit of politics here, I saw the funniest damn thing. I was sitting here, I was drinking my tea, and I happened to watch a TYT video, and this wonderfully funny woman was commenting on Marjorie Taylor Greene, or as I call her, Majorly Turd Sheen, was snubbed by Trump on the tarmac at an airport. But she opened it with, And here we have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's known to have the ugliest toes in Congress. Child, I nearly fell out my chair.
This weekend, criminal traitor former President Trump flew to Georgia, and the woman with the grossest toes in Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene, showed up at the tarmac to give him a warm welcome.
Was the funniest damn thing I did not expect. So now every time I see her, I'm just going to think she has the ugliest toes in Congress. And it kind of makes me go, what do they look like? No, I don't want to see. I don't want to see. Don't show me. Don't show me. My eyes, my eyes. Good news when you buy a flower bouquet from Flower Box, and that's FLOWERBX. They have a All for Love Roses bouquet that you can buy, and the money goes to Stonewall. So nice little way for Pride celebration. Nimona Creator says Netflix new LGBTQ plus animated film has a powerful trans message built into it, so definitely go check that out. Newsroom staff in Michigan, in a local station in Michigan, did a huge revolt against two managers who insisted they lower the amount of Pride coverage that goes on, and everybody freaked the hell out, and they said, well, if you do it, you need to show both sides. And by my pausing there for those in the audio, I'm holding up huge air quotes, show both sides of the situation. Well, the entire newsroom staff revolted. Nice. And they took to Twitter and called this shit out. And now those two managers are no longer involved in anything having to deal with Pride events and can no longer voice their opinions about it. So nice. Bravo to them. Conservative lost their shit at the Tony Awards because Dylan Mulvaney had her picture taken with Tony the Tiger. And so now Kellogg's is thrown into they're going after our children's cereal. Oh, fuck. Sit down and shut the hell up.
What are you hiding?
Colorado. Huh?
What are you hiding?
Exactly. What are you hiding? What are you doing? What are you up to? What are you doing there? Huh? What's going on? Yeah. Colorado landlord evicts Twitter for unpaid rent. So they got evicted out of their building, got locked out. Love that. And then finally, the My Son Can't Be Gay story that hit on QWERTY. There was a man, a state lawmaker. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. There was a man who couldn't accept the fact that his son might be gay because he's obsessed with women. Yeah, Wonder Woman. It's like totally obvious. It's like, okay, but you know what? I could relate to this in a little tiny way because my bedroom was flooded with Linda Carter posters all over the place, in costume and out. So I'm sure it confused the fuck out of my dad too, because Linda's quite the buxom lady. You know, she's got some talent there. You know, and I'm sure there was a lot of. But wait, he likes to be Barbara Streisand and Funny Girl. But then he also has Linda Carter posters. How do these two square? They're all gay. That's why. So that's what I'm on about this week.
Nice. Want to do my win or yours?
Yeah, let's do yours. Okay.
At Northwestern's commencement event, the governor of Illinois gave a great speech about hate actions and people being mean versus who is actually creative in the world. And I wanted to share it with you because it's really well thought out.
Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing. Dwight Schrute. The entire efficacy of this incredibly useful piece of information hinges upon your ability to pick the right idiot. I wish there was a foolproof way to spot idiots, but counterintuitively, some idiots are very smart. They can dazzle you with words and misdirection. They can get promoted above you at work. They can even be elected president. If you want to be successful in this world, you have to develop your own idiot detection system. As part of the responsibilities of being your commencement speaker, I'm going to share mine. Sure, I'm naturally suspicious of people who never saw the original Star Wars movies, and even more cautious of people who loved the prequels and the sequels. But I admit this is not a reliable idiot indicator. No, the best way to spot an idiot: look for the person who is cruel. Let me explain. When we see someone who doesn't look like us, or sound like us, or act like us, or love like us, or live like
Everything's
us,
frozen.
the first thought that crosses almost everyone's brain is rooted in either fear or judgment, or both. That's evolution. We survived as a species by being suspicious of things that we aren't familiar with. In order to be kind, we have to shut down that animal instinct and force our brain to travel a different pathway. Empathy and compassion are evolved states of being. They require the mental capacity to step past our most primal urges. This may be a surprising assessment because somewhere along the way in the last few years, our society has come to believe that weaponized cruelty is part of some well-thought-out master plan. Cruelty is seen by some as an adroit cudgel to gain power. Empathy and kindness are considered weak. Many important people look at the vulnerable only as rungs on a ladder to the top. I'm here to tell you that when someone's path through this world is marked with acts of cruelty, they have failed the first test of an advanced society. They never forced their animal brain to evolve past its first instinct. They never forged new mental pathways to overcome their own instinctual fears. And so, their thinking and problem solving will lack the imagination and creativity that the kindest people have in spades. Over my many years in politics and business, I have found one thing to be universally true. The kindest person in the room is often the...
They cut it off. I'm assuming the last word is smartest.
The last word was smartest. So yes, that, folks. The kindest person in the room is often the smartest.
And that's the same governor who just signed the ban on book bans, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. Illinois is rocking it right now. Words I never thought as a Wisconsin child I would say, by the way.
Well, you know, come on. All you have to say is Blagojevich.
I know, but I am so proud to call them my neighbors right now.
Yeah. Well done. Well done. I'm going to say my win of the week is actually the queer comedians out there who are really stepping into the light, claiming it for themselves, which takes nothing away from the other one. But you know what I think I love most about queer comedians is they don't punch down.
Right.
That's something their straight counterparts could really take a page out of their book. I find punching down jokes really lazy. And if I see people doing it, it's not necessarily the topic that they're using or how they tell the joke. It's the fact that they decided to punch down.
Yeah.
And that to me is lazy humor. That's barroom humor. That's talking with your mates and you decide to be off color humor, which has no place for me on stage. The idea of comedy should be one that informs as much as it entertains. And I think queer people are really I'm thinking Joel Kent Booster, I'm thinking Margaret Cho, I'm thinking Wanda Sykes, I'm thinking Matteo Lane, I'm thinking, you know, there's all these, I think it's Jason Goldman's another one, Joel Kent Booster, you know, all of these queer comedians are doing a marvelous job of subverting the narrative, which is what we queers do best. But there are a lot of them out there, and seek them out. If they're in your neighborhood, go see them, support them, show them that what they're doing, that they're, as Kathleen Madigan would say, they're doing the Lord's work. Get them, you know, get them some support, which is why we when we see Matteo do something on YouTube, or we see any other queer comedian that does content, we will promote them because we want that kind of broad voice. It's one of the reasons Vance and I and Jane in the beginning started this whole thing. We wanted to have a voice for the queer community to come talk about what they're passionate about. So this is also a general call out to people who are queer content creators. If you're watching this, or if you know of someone who's a queer content creator, have them go to our website at ropepodcast.com/booking, and they can pick a date to come on our show. There's no charge for it. You can sign up, explain what it is that you're about. There's a form to fill out and to send it in, and we will have you on our show to talk about what you're passionate about in the queer community. Just make sure that it's related to the queer community. That's all we ask.
Awesome. And those were words of wisdom. Did you have anything else?
Nope, that's it. That's all I got.
All right. Written on the Edges, produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, or listen stations, or as Baz said, to sign up as a guest, visit www.ropepodcast.com. If you enjoy learning about new artists, please like and subscribe so you get alerts for new episodes. Follow us on YouTube. We're really growing there. And I think it's probably the way of the future, that we will not stop with the audio podcasts. And tune in next week for your queer media fix.
Don't forget to subscribe. We only have to get 500 now. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, what's that?
Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.